Hello everyone, my name is Jitendra Bafna. I am a senior MuleSoft architect. In this video, we will going to see a live demonstration on VPC. So basically how we can create a VPC and deploy the application within the VPC. So in my last video, I have already explained the concept of VPC and how we can do the VPC sizing, what is the VPC, what are the recommendation for the VPC, what are CIDR remarks. So we have seen everything. So now let's see how we can create a VPC in our Anypoint platform. So you can go to runtime manager. In runtime manager, you can say VPC. You can say create VPC. In create VPC, I can say mule demo VPC. You can select the region and I can give some IP address like 1.0/24. So this is the CIDR block. So this 10.0.1.0/24 will give a 256 IP addresses starting from 1.0, 1.1, 1.2 like that 256. You can select the environment. You can select the multiple environment, but right now it's it. So I have only one business group, so it will be having the one business group only. Then there are default firewall rule, so it means like http dot port. So whenever you deploy the application, that will be accessible like over the internet when you are deploying the application on 8081 over the protocol https dot port 8082 means like when you deploy the application on port 8082, it will be accessible publicly over the protocol https. http.private port 8091, when you deploy the application on port 8091, it will be not accessible publicly, but it can be accessible within the VPC over the protocol http. Same thing goes with the 8092, only difference is over the protocol https. So you can also configure your internal DNS. So basically once you create a VPC, you may create a VPN also to connect the on-premises services, right? So you may have some internal DNS, right? So you can like add the internal DNS and their IP address. You can do that mapping here in internal DNS. Okay, so basically it's kind of host file in the Windows. Like you can set up like this is my DNS or domain name, and this is the corresponding IP address. So I will do these are the these are the settings, and I will say create a VPC. Once I will click on create VPC, no, it will create the VPC for me. It will take some time. So let me go to create VPC. It's still creating it. So it's there. So let me check that. Okay, so VPC has been created in US North Virginia region. Make sure you select the correct region. CIDR block is this. Your business group, firewall rules, everything is proper. So now what I will do, I have created two application. One is one for 8081. Okay, so basically if you see, if I deploy this application within the VPC, what will happen? It will accessible publicly. So what I have done, I have configured this $http.port, and I defined that http.port in this particular test.properties. You can see that http port, and I have other application on port 8091. So listener, if you check the listener configuration, so you can have a http.private.port, and in that properties file, no, I have defined http.private port on the 8091. Okay, so let me deploy the application. I will just right click. I can deploy from here Anypoint Platform, and I can say deploy to CloudHub. Let's wait. Then we will see like more thing on this. So I will always recommend it. Please go through the previous video which explain all the concept related to VPC, how you can do the VPC sizing, all those things. Okay, so you can see it in the previous video. Now otherwise, like what I can do, okay, it's open. Yeah, it's open. So I have to configure my account. Okay, so guys wait, because it takes some time. Now, always you need to make sure like your region is correct. So now your VPC is in North Virginia. Always make sure you deploy your application in North Virginia. This is your VPC. Okay. If you go to more, it's in US East North Virginia. Okay, I can quickly give my user ID. You can sign in. So the region should be US East North Virginia. So where like you need to make sure you deploy the application in the same region where your VPC exists. Okay, and let me show. So everything is good here. So it's very easy to create a VPC. So let's wait. It's taking some time. Okay, good. It's open. And the first thing, it's a US East North Virginia. Deploying application name, I can give this as a VPC 8081 only. And simply I can say, okay, one worker, make sure the region is correct, and simply say deploy application. Okay, so till now what I will do this as a manual deployment because that particular is taking time. So I can export a jar file, finish. Okay, let me go to runtime application. Okay, let it export. So simply I can say deploy VPC 8091 region US East North Virginia, which is correct. Okay, export is completed. Now I can locate my jar file. See, it might be in my users EVPC 8091, and I can say deploy application. Okay, so I will pause the video till both the application get deployed. Once it will get deployed, I will continue the video. Yeah guys, welcome back. I can see my both application has been deployed. So we will test one by one. So first I will test 8081. So what I mentioned, when you deploy the application on port 8081, it should be accessible over the internet. So http control v slash test. So you got the response back. You can see it here in this folder. So it has downloaded the response. Okay, so let me open that folder and let me edit this file. Open with notepad. You can say a response from application 8081. So let me test the second application which is deployed on the port 8091. Okay, the URL remains same. So you haven't got the response. It's saying 502 bad gateway because you cannot access that application publicly. You can access within the VPC but cannot access publicly. That's why we got the error 502 gateway. So now if you want to find the IP address of your application, you want to check whether it is deployed within your IP address, so which you have provided. So basically you can copy this particular part. Okay, it's simple. You can add mule worker internal hyphen that particular application name. Okay, VPC 809, this is the way you can do. You can go to command prompt and try to ping it. Even it will not give a ping response, but you can see the IP selected is 10.0.1.1.1.10. So it has took the IP address from your IP range only. So what IP range you provide? 10.0.1.0./24. This contain the IP range from 1.0 to up to 255. So it picked the IP of 10.0.1.1110. So let's consider if I want to check the IP address for application 8081. So this is also within that particular IP range only, 10.0.1.56, right? So okay, so this is the Mule worker internal for the application, and this is how you can access it publicly, the application deployed. So you just have to remove the internal, but for 8091 it will not resolve. So okay, internal, I want to remove the internal basically. So it will not get resolved, okay, because it is not, it's got resolved. Even yeah, sorry, it will get resolved, but it is not accessible. Yeah, so basically it will have a public and the private IP addresses, I'm sorry. So it will definitely get resolved, but it is not accessible out over the internet basically. Okay, so Mule worker VPC 8091, and you can find the internal IP using the internal, you can find internal and external IP both. So this is where you can find the internal IP. Now I want to access that application. What can I do? Right? So one way you can create the VPN, and using this particular URL like http slash 8091 slash test. Okay, this is way. So what I will do, I will create one application and I will deploy on port http 8081, and I will call this URL basically. Okay, so because I will deploy one application which is listening on the port 8081 basically, I will click on this plus sign. I will say OK, and I can give a path as a VPC test. Then I can call a requester. In requester, what I will do, I can give this Mule worker internal and this hyphen application name dot region dot CloudHub, the port number and test. So now what will happen? Even see what will happen. This endpoint I have deployed on port 8089. It means so it will be accessible publicly. Now the requester will request to this particular URL, correct, to 8091, the application which is deployed within the VPC. So what will happen? This particular application is deployed within the VPC, but our listener is publicly accessible. That's why, and even as this application is deployed on the VPC, so it can able to call this application deployed on the 8091 also. I will show that. Okay, you can save everything and you can deploy, right click, Anypoint Platform, deploy to CloudHub. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, so let me do one thing better. I will create one diagram so you can understand better. So consider this is my one of the shape. Under this shape I have deployed a two application. So this application deployed on 8081, this application deployed on 8091. So application deployed on 8081 can be accessible publicly, okay, but deployed on 8091 cannot be accessible within publicly. And this is my VPC. So both application deployed within the VPC, right? So 8081 application can access application deployed on 8091. So let me deploy first. Yeah, let it be whatever name. deploy application. So this is possible. This particular application can access this using let me add, till the application is deploying, I can do one thing using URL, internal URL, mule worker internal whatever you can say, app name dot region dot CloudHub .io and port 8091 if it is HTTP and 8092 if it is a HTTPS. So this is how it can access the application, right? So that is same thing we are doing it, and outside consumer will send a request to this. They both are application within the VPC, so using this internal URL they can access each other. Okay, so I will show that. So let me go back to my, yeah, it is deploying. So let's wait, I will pause the video till it's deploying the application. Guys, welcome back. This application has been deployed. So I will copy this URL and I will say http slash VPC test. So you can see you got the response, right? And let me open with, this is response from application 8091. So that is what we expected, right? So generally we should not do this approach. So generally, like like you don't have to deploy the application on 8081 to access the application publicly, which is deployed on 8091. So better what we will do in our next video, we will create a dedicated load balancer which is capable of the transferring the traffic to the application deployed to the VPC. We will see that in our next video. I hope you understand the concept of VPC, how you can create the VPC. So what is the anatomy, below the port 8091, 8092, 8081, 8082, how the application can interact within the VPC, what are the different firewall rules. So I have walked through all this thing. I hope you like the video. If you like the video, please click on like and the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.